Testing, testing, is this thing on? As they used to say back in radio days. Internet outage, mostly on X, but I did notice it on a couple of other sites, by the way. So that wasn't the only one affected. But boy, the hardcore X users and posters and news sites, they were in a panic this morning trying to figure out what was going on. So we'll see. But like I always say, if you're listening to the audio-only podcast version a little bit later on, or you're watching on a replay later, you're like, this doesn't affect me. I don't care. I watch this anyway. And most of you, by the way, watch Wicked Radio on the replay on X later on anyway. So there's been a big outage. Every once in a while this happens. It's like a reminder to all of us where we are in this stuff. We're so electronic dependent. I mean, back in radio days, you know, my whole adult life was on radio, and there was always something wrong. There was always something broken. There was a tower down. There was interference. There was something. So I'm kind of used to that. But boy, are we dependent on electronics. Absolutely amazing. So I don't know what happened. Overnight, X was down all sites, and then the mobile version came up, and then the desktop version was down again. Who knows? But anyway, I'll replay this later on if you didn't get a hold of it. Not only that, we also have this to talk about today. I know you're sick and tired. I am too, of the Epstein story. And I get it. I totally understand it. But you got to start to look at it this way. You're sick of it. I'm sick of it. But you know who's forgotten in all of this? The victims are forgotten in all of this. And they finally had their chance to speak last night. And I got to tell you, it was pretty impactful. Now, they didn't have a press conference. It was a pre-recorded, pretty well produced, I will say, PSA that aired during Monday Night Football. It was about, I think, a minute. I've got a clip of that to show you. That was something else. There's another reminder of all the disgusting details that have come out about this. We all know about him. We're all tired of hearing about it. We're tired of hearing about files. We're tired of the politics on this. But I will tell you what. I think we owe it to them. Really, as a society, as a country, I think we owe it to them as patriots to give these girls, these victims, their due and their say. I really, truly believe that. I do believe that. It's time. I'll play a little clip of that for you to talk about that as well. But there is another development on this whole thing. And I know we're sick of hearing about it, but once we get through this, like Trump says, release it all, we'll get all the information out there, whatever. Fine. There was another element of this. This is fascinating. There's a reason why none of the politicians were talking about this story yesterday. None of them. Because one of theirs was revealed by the Washington Post, of all people, to have been texting Epstein during a hearing. This was the Michael Cohen hearing. Remember that when they pulled him before a House Oversight Committee hearing? We'll talk about her as well. But let me get to the most impactful thing from last night. Again, during Monday Night Football, and usually PSAs are out there and people tune it out. I would bet you a lot of people saw this. We're all sick of the Epstein story, all of us. But I think we owe it to give them their due. Here's the PSA that aired last night. Just got a little clip of it to play for you now. I don't know if you saw that or not, but I'll add the audio to that a little bit later on. But they got there, and there was a bunch of the victims, and what they went on to say was, there's thousands of us. Let our story be heard. And basically at the end they had, you know, a text message on there at the screen that said, release everything. Well, it looks like they will, for sure, because now you've got this story to add to the element. Now you've got Stacey Plaskett, representative from the Virgin Islands. I know, I forget sometimes, too, that they have elected representatives, but they do. So now she's a focal point of the story, and this is the gross part of it. This is the part of it that takes away from the story of the victims. You know, they had their say, and let's not forget them, was a good reminder for everybody. This goes back into the gross politics of this entire thing, where you have her, apparently, texting with Jeffrey Epstein, and this was revealed, and they've always known about this, but now it's actually coming to light from, of all places, the Washington Post. Will Cain on Fox did a pretty good breakdown. Let me try to play his clip right now to try to explain it for everybody.
On a morning of a hearing where the House was questioning Michael Cohen, Plaskett was communicating with Jeffrey Epstein. To be clear, this is years and years after he was convicted in 2008 of soliciting a minor. Plaskett was texting with Epstein that morning, the morning of the hearing that was aired on C-SPAN. She texted with Epstein, "He'll talk about his grades." Epstein responded, "What privilege stands behind the non-release of college transcripts?" He then says, "Great outfit. You look great." All caps.
God. And of course, it was when he was alive, before he was unalived. So now you have a representative in Congress during this hearing as he's coaching her on what to say in the oversight hearing of Michael Cohen. This story, and I get it, I know you're sick of it, I am too, but this thing could not get any grosser. But that's the politics of it. Again, just going back to that PSA last night from the victims, that's why this story is going to continue. It's why it kind of has to continue, because of them. We can't forget about their story. But this isn't a news story, which is maybe the most amazing thing of all. This is a C-SPAN interview. You know, sometimes they have politicians and maybe some administration members go on C-SPAN and they have like a little, I guess it's like an interview, but like a little live chat. This is 2023, and just some random dude from New Mexico chimes in. They take live calls, apparently, which is amazing to me. Probably unscreened because it's C-SPAN, and I don't even know if they have a budget. This guy actually asks her, this is 2023, about her involvement with Epstein, and I guess it was the Financial Times, I think that's what he said at the time, knowing full well he was in contact with her during that hearing.
Does Representative Plaskett have anything to say? Business Insider has reported on this as recently as, I believe, July of 2023, about meeting with Jeffrey Epstein in 2018 and receiving $30,000 of campaign contribution.
Jeffrey Epstein was a resident of the Virgin Islands. He wanted to make contributions to the Democratic Party. He asked for a contribution. He made contributions to my campaign. I do believe that he was a reprehensible person. And after finding out what he had done, I gave the money that he had contributed to my campaign to nonprofits.
But here's the thing. You didn't stop the contact with him, did you? So was it more money than was reported? I had seen reports, anything from, that guy said 30,000, Financial Times, where he got that article, but I've heard as little as 8. Regardless, this story has been around for years now, literally years, since at least 2023 that people knew about it. And now it's only breaking? So this whole time, when you have politicians really on both sides yapping about you want to release the Epstein files, this whole time, you knew the politicians were dirty in it. And now all of a sudden they're not talking about it. But again, what's the takeaway? We're all sick of this story. All of it. But once it gets out there, let's not forget about those victims, those girls. That's the main important thing to remember. All right, here's an interesting story. It sucks for them, but is there an opportunity to build a bridge, get what we want, but build a bridge with China? Because there are stuck Chinese astronauts right now. Do you think we could help them out? Now, let's not forget, of all the countries we have trade deals with, and we're hammering them on tariffs and all this other stuff, the one that's not completely done yet, great progress on fentanyl, but the one that's not completely done yet, a lot of negotiations, says the president and the administration and the trade ambassadors, is China. Well, seems like they could use some help because, let's see, if they have stuck Chinese astronauts, who do we have that might be able to help them out? Like he helped out our stuck astronauts. Elon. What better way, and you know that the Chinese hate to be embarrassed on this, what better way to, very quietly, offer to help them out as long as we can get something? Here's the background of the story, and it sucks for them, but again, maybe an opportunity for us. So there's apparently 3 Chinese astronauts stuck in space. Their shuttle was used to cart another group back to Earth, left them in the dust, or space dust. They are, I'll try to pronounce these as best I can, Zhang Lu, Wu Fei, and Zhang Hongzhang, I think, all with the Shenzhou 21 mission. They're marooned at China's Tiangong space station until another shuttle is available to pick them up. So far, what they're saying, the international reporters and the tech reporters are saying, that's not going to happen in a long time. The problem is the China Manned Space Agency has only vaguely confirmed that the spacecraft, the crew's likely only way back home that they have back here on Earth, would be launched at an appropriate time in the future. Well, that sucks for them. But like I said, You know, in these trade deals, and Trump always likes to talk about it, you offer them something else and you be the nice, all with the goal of getting something out of them. We still want to deal with China. You're not going to be able to avoid them, right? What better way to build a bridge but that's ask for something big in return? We've already made great progress with cutting down the production of fentanyl, which was killing Americans. Wouldn't this be a good opportunity? Maybe. Kinda? Sorta? I don't know. We'll see. Keep an eye on it, though. That sucks for them, though. Man, I bet you I would watch for this story to see if Elon chimes in and says we'd be more than happy to help. I don't know. We'll see. All right, I'm going to wrap this up with, because we're getting closer and closer, we are officially in the red zone to the great American holiday. Thanksgiving takes on a new twist through American advertising. You ready for this? This one comes from KFC. Now, I first read this story, and I said, oh, nobody's going to go for that. But every time I see a story like this before a big holiday, some restaurant, retail chain comes out with some crazy marketing gimmick, and I always think, oh, that's never going to work. And then you find out the numbers later, and somebody reports on it, and it was massively successful. This probably is going to be the same way. KFC is selling, ready, gravy flights for Thanksgiving. Would you be all right with chicken instead of turkey? KFC says yes. They're trying to insert themselves into Thanksgiving with a new meal. It's called the Extra Crispy Festive Feast. Maybe you're into that, maybe you're not. Actually, at this moment, because I haven't had breakfast yet, sounds kind of delicious. So instead of turkey, you'd get a bucket of fried chicken along with a flight of 3 different gravies, right? Like you sample, like when you flight a whiskey, flight a beer, whatever. It's $25. It sounds pricey, not compared to most fast food these days. But you get 8 pieces of chicken, 2 sides of mashed potatoes, 4 biscuits, and 3 types of gravy. Now, again, I go into these stories always thinking, nobody's going to do that. It's Thanksgiving. People eat at home with their family. Hold on. Shame on me for assuming that, because that's not everybody. And let me tell you something. Big fans of KFC or people who may be not with their family this year, sounds pretty damn tempting for a lot of people, so I'll keep an eye on it. We'll see. All right. Tough day on the live stream for connecting with the internet outage on X and other sites, but don't worry about that. This is going to be reposted if you missed anything on X when Elon fixes the algorithm or the internet outage or the satellite blockage or Mercury retrograde, alien invasion. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's a good reminder that we're so dependent on electronics, and the audio podcast will always be posted as well. Thanks for hanging out with me, being patient with me, make it a wicked awesome Tuesday. I'll talk to you tomorrow.